has trained with Master Soken, Master Kisei, and others from Okinawa. Has been studying martial arts for many years. So I'll turn this over to Sensei.
I was debating with one of my longtime brothers and friends and students, and although we had the same birthday, always wondered who was the oldest. And we've now ascertained that I was born in the PM and he was born in the AM, so he is older.
Actually, same day, same year, same month.
Thank you, Sensei.
But we're both in our early 40s and some months. How many months?
And a few.
All right, well, congratulations for all of you being here and participating in the last few days. You young people are just beginning. You're all young in martial arts. We consider the Q levels, the under black belt levels, as they're beginning. We consider the Dan levels as a step. So if you're beginning, you can learn by step. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things I went over with these guys, and they're going to take that information and help everyone understand. It's about breathing. Breathing. Conscious movement. We do it without even thinking about it. Whether we're awake or asleep, we breathe. We have controlling breaths to give us strength and energy. Part of what we'll do in the breaking, this is Hazamawari, which everyone loves, you know, the breaking. You break a 20-pound ice. No. Well, somebody don't believe it or not yet. That's not. Breaking is Hazamawari, means a test of strength. It is a way for us to show what we can do with a punch, kick, or block. If I said to you, I have no strength, this right here, break your rib. Will you let me do it? Well, the same thing applies to whether it be a bone, a leg bone, or an arm, or something like that. So we use inanimate objects such as rocks, bricks, and so on to illustrate that much power we have. That's the whole purpose of it. It is not anything other than that ability to test the strength more. We'll do some of that. Part of what we'll do as well is I will do some, so will Mr. Bill, do some speed breaks, power breaks, energy breaks. Mine will have to do with breathing. Some of the things that you've seen me do in the past, I may repeat them, but this will be something new for you, actually, the Qigong break. Okay? Qigong is a matter of breathing. We also have an idea about weapons. Why do we even do weapons? If you're not in weapons yet, as you grow within the ranks of the lower levels, you're going to be introduced to weapons. And the reason we do weapons is to keep that art alive. Keep every bit of it in its history intact. We try to teach a traditional aspect. We know that we're not going to be walking around with any of this. We're not going to have all these old down weapons out in the street. Although some have been adapted to law enforcement. We just know that these are things that we do in traditional life. Secondly, and probably more important, is the same movements that we do in our freehand martial arts, the freehand karate, we do with weapons. So they are an extension, and because they weigh a little bit more, they become our weight training. So we learn to get a stronger block by having weight and resistance. The isometric, isotonic type of resistance. So, what is the other reason for weapon? History, yes. Weight training, yes. But if you are familiar with a weapon, you're not intimidated by a weapon. If you have never held a weapon, bow and arrow. You got the arrow. Wasn't sure what that was for. A pistol, a rifle. If you're not familiar with them, you kind of are intimidated when you are around it until you are comfortable with, is the safety on, is it loaded? Once you're familiar with it, it does not intimidate you. Well, the purpose of this weaponry training and learning how to do it one-on-one against each other and against another weapon is so that we're not intimidated if someone comes at us with a sharp object, a club object, a weapon that threatens us. We have now become comfortable with it. So, some of the purposes as well. Part of the demonstration is about the history of karate. Karate itself is very old. Modern day karate is very new. Sport karate is, I've seen it up in my lifetime. When I started in martial arts, you had to be a certain age. There were no other belts, just white and black. There were no way you could be a young person and start training until you were at least 10. You had to be at least 18 to even think about being a black belt. The amount of instructors that were available were limited. At best, we had some military guys coming over, and at best, they were giving us what they could remember from their 3 years in the Orient. And if they went back, they may have picked up something else. So we had at best a collage of information. Some stylists here that was similar to us, some stylists here that wasn't. But we got together and worked out. My father, being one of the first Americans to see martial arts training, came back with an idea of bringing over Orientals, which is what he did. Back in the 50s and 60s, bringing over any foreigner, especially an Oriental, considering that we had just got out of World War II and Korean War, was a unique process. And we had to show that they had some ability to work on a 7-year visa for someone. So most of the people who brought over had a trade. They were engineers, they were mechanics, they were something that could be used in our society. My dad was a mechanical engineer working for a Barber Coleman Company. He brought over electricians, plumbers, and heating air conditioning type people. Koreans had a need for that. Americans taught them. We brought them over. My first instructor was a student of Master Sokin's, but he was also a student of some of the old martial arts that had been forgotten, Shaolin and Wano. So I had an exposure to an old gentleman. Now, I will tell you that whenever I was your age, I came home one day and told my father, oh, we have a new teacher. Our other teacher is no longer. She's really old. And my father, I was probably about 10. And my father said, how old was she? I said, oh, she's 24. So when I say my teacher was really old, that I originally started with, he really was. He was in his 60s. Wow, I'm past that now. So I'm in my 60s. So I guess it's really not so old, but it did seem. But he had a lot of old history. And it was in the 50s that many was born in the 1800s. At the time, the engineer and the transition of martial arts from a combative art in Japan to a sport art. Okinawa never did go to sport until 1959. They were always a combative art. They really didn't adapt the belt system until the early 50s. They taught kata as a means of training. There were no 25 basics. There were one step. I went out there as the teacher and I took 10 to 15 minutes and went over a kata and you watched it and I wrote down 5 movements of it and that's what we worked on for 2 hours. I'll see you next class. That was the essence of it. So I have that old training and one of the things that I'm trying to bring back is the fact that old training concentrated on strong, basic movements, concentrated on every little thing you do, not just, I've got it. The problem with kata today in most of the martial arts is it's a choreographed exercise to get you promoted. And it's more than that. It's an all-time thing. It's that thing that you do all the time in your mind. It's that thing that helps you. I believe I could be a quadriplegic and still teach. Because kata is mind. It's all about the mind. And making your body do something. So, with that, we will now talk a little bit about weaponry. That's kind of the exciting part of the demonstration. We'll talk about the freehand portion and how it relates with